Hi everyone, Sam Winslow here from Sam's Woodland Tours, and today I'm doing some camping. What I'm doing is some minimal camping. What you see is what I have, other than the camera equipment that I carried with me. I have my Schrade Bowie knife and the contents of my shoulder bag. That's it. So I'm out here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a minimal camp. So basically what I can fashion in the few hours I have left before sunset and spend the night. So instead of going over my kit at the moment, since I only have a few hours left, what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to get started on my shelter. And what I'm going to do is a fallen tree shelter. So stay tuned and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Cut a little bit more and complete the hinge. So as you're building your shelter, as you're going through, and of course from the camera you'll be able to see some holes in the back. And what I just did was I wanted to make sure that my bed was going to be comfortable. I'll have to add a bit more brush for insulation, of course. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be counting stars tonight through the roof of my shelter. And of course, this is an open face shelter, so all I'd have to do is look off to the side. But my point is that even though this is a temporary shelter, you still want it to be able to be deflect, or rather not let all the precipitation through if there is precipitation or a frost in the middle of the night, depending on the time of year, or just any kind of cold, dampness. Being open face, of course, that's not going to keep it out completely. What I'm planning on doing tonight is having a fire, either a long fire or just a regular fire in front, I do have some gear with me that I am going to talk about in a bit. But so far this is shaping up to my expectations. I've done this before and it's worked out, so I thought I'd do it again tonight. So I'll get back at it. Okay, so I have almost finished working on my shelter. I'm going to continue to add a bit more brush both to the bed and to the shelter itself. Now, of course, the insulation between my body and the ground is one of the most important things, because we all know that that'll suck the heat out from underneath, and you can also get dampness from the ground. So I will be adding more to that, and I still do have some holes, but like any brush shelter, it takes a lot of brush to fill in all your holes to make it completely watertight. You're not really going to easily do that. So if I were expecting rain, I probably wouldn't necessarily be going with this setup. If it were to precipitate tonight, it's probably going to be snow. It is below 0 degrees Celsius now. It could still be freezing rain, but snow is what's in the forecast and not until tomorrow. So I'm not overly worried. I just wanted this mostly as a windbreak, and I think I have that. Now, what I did was the fallen tree shelter, and I don't know if it's in the frame or not, but I ended up cutting just a little bit further. This knife is actually a really good chopper, and I'm still getting the hang of it, the feel of it. I'm used to an axe, but I'm enjoying this quite a bit. Again, this is a Schrade Bowie. For those who like serial numbers, we got SCH F45, or model number rather. This is holding up pretty well. I kind of cut off a little bit more of the hinge than I wanted to. So what I decided to do was take the whole pole down and carve a notch. And I had a little bit of paracord with me. Actually, I've got a few pieces here and there, usually on my person. So I just kind of secured it a little bit, and I'm not too worried about that coming down on me in the middle of the night. Unless it gets really, really windy, and even then, it would only come down so far. Probably wouldn't hit me, but it might come off. But if it's that windy, I'm probably not going to be sleeping anyway. So time to talk about my contents as I bump into my shelter. Of the bag, that is. So I brought my knife. That is the main tool I have with me. Now I do have a belt knife with me, just out of habit. Haven't used it yet, but it's one that goes with me most places. Now I'll just open up my bag and show you what I have. Now I'm doing this video now because I figure my light later on, I may try and do some videos in the darkness, but my light later on may not be great with this camera, I'm not sure. So what I have with me, I did bring some water. Now I could have melted snow, but for tea, that is, and drinking water, but I kind of decided, since I'm doing all this, I got a late start in the day, and I was also kind of on purpose. I wanted to see what I could accomplish before the sun went down. I brought some drinking water, and I have a plan on keeping that from freezing, of course. I brought a small first aid kit. A lot of times I'll carry a slightly bigger one, or this and another small one with different materials, just to complement each other. When I do tours or workshops, I have at least this or larger ones with more material for more people. But I just thought, since I was out here swinging a big knife, I should bring a first aid kit. You never know. I'm pretty careful, but you never know. Rather not go without it. I did bring my tinder box. Now on my person, I do have a few different methods of lighting fire, but this is just some char cloth, some cotton balls, ferro rod, windproof matches, stormproof matches rather, that sort of thing. So that's in there. So I have several different methods of lighting fire, probably 5. I didn't plan on bringing that many. I just kind of threw it in the bag, and then I got out here and realized that's what I had. Now, something I'm testing out tonight. Now I know a lot of you probably watching this have heard of these, or have them, or have used them, but it's the Survive Outdoors Longer survival blanket. So on top of the clothes that I'm wearing, and I'll talk about that a little later on, my method of staying warm tonight other than a fire is Mylar blanket. And I should point out though that I am wearing quite a bit of wool. I've been taking my hat off and even this outer layer when I'm chopping, just because I am wearing at least 2 layers and lots of base layers as well. So I think I'm going to be all right, but I wanted to see how this works, just because I don't like to carry something unless I've tested it out. So I've been carrying this. I thought it was time. Heard good things about it so far. A little piece of paracord. This is the Billy can. I've got a lid. This is Essentials tea. Got to keep the caffeine going. If I'm up for whatever reason, or at least in the morning with breakfast. And I've recently switched over to a tea ball. Now I know lots of people I know from, say, Nova Scotia bushcraft, a lot of guys I know, they have a coffee ritual out in the woods. Well, I have a tea. Gotta have some of that with me. And because I wanted to do this in a minimalist way, I'll just set that to the side. Don't need the lid on. I didn't want to add too much bulk and require needing another bag. I wanted to do this without doing a backpack and just do what I carry with me in my shoulder bag. Since I didn't want to starve out here and do a hardcore survival thing tonight, I have done things like that in the past. I may do a little bit more. Not really into it right now. So I brought some Bannock mix. Didn't bring a bowl to mix it up in, but I do have this bag. I'm just going to mix it up with some of my water and some bacon. And instead of bringing pots and pans, I do like cast iron, but of course not a lot of what I have would fit in this bag anyway. I thought I'd do all my cooking on a stick. So that's my breakfast. So I think this should be a good night, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start gathering my firewood. I'll come back later. All right. So, got my camp finished, or as finished as it's going to be now. You can always keep working on any kind of shelter you make. Always make improvements. As you can see, I've made a bit of a long fire. See how long that burns through the night. Lots of dead standing wood in this area, so I was able to chop some of that down and with the Bowie and lay it up. Now we've got a bit of a storm coming in, and I don't know if that's picking up on the camera. It kind of looks like it. Wind swirling around, blowing some smoke around. That's all right. So other than a bit of wind, maybe a chance of snow before morning, I guess. But other than a bit of wind, it should be a pretty comfortable night. Like I said, I've got that Survive Outside Longer blanket. And I've got a nice fire, good distance from my brush hut. Now, anytime you're working with a brush hut, you want to be aware that brush is flammable. So you want to take some cautions with that, or precautions as well. Just being aware that it could go up in flames if it were to catch, if it dries out and get nice and hot. Yeah, now I'm not too worried with this though. I mean, I've got a good distance between my fire and my hut, and of course I've got an excellent exit strategy. I'm missing a wall, so I feel like it should be pretty easy to get out. Well, yeah, I think I'll settle down now and get into bed. I'll continue filming in the morning. Good morning. So, fairly comfortable night given the circumstances, I think.
It would have been well below, or not, sorry, not well below, but a few degrees below zero. And it may pick up here a little bit. I don't know if the microphone will pick it up, but the wind's starting to come up, and it has been off and on throughout the night. So, but the shelter actually kept me from getting cold, or I should say the fire. Nice windbreak here, and this worked pretty well. So I'm going to do a more detailed review of this at some point, but this is the Survive Outside Longer blanket that I was talking about earlier, and that worked pretty well. It wouldn't take the place of a sleeping bag. As the fire died down, I did notice that, you know, as it cooled off, the blanket and myself would cool off, but definitely there were times where I was asleep and very, very warm and very comfortable. So I'm actually pretty pleased with it. Now there are some pros and cons with it, but I will talk about that in more depth in another video perhaps. Now I was running around earlier, or last night before dark, finishing my shelter and getting my firewood, so I didn't show much of that. But what I had done, in case it didn't show up very well in the video, was I had basically made my, since I was chopping everything with a Bowie knife, I decided to just cut it to length, basically the dead standing wood, and not process it at all into small pieces, and make my fire here, and as it burned down, push it in. Made it pretty easy. When I needed to adjust the fire in the middle of the night, I didn't have to go very far to do it. Didn't really have to get out of bed all that much. Did a little bit. And as you can see, I've got enough heat left over to cook my bacon and bannock on a stick. I think the dishes will be pretty easy to do today. Yeah. All in all, I think this was pretty good. I like this kind of fire lay the most during the winter time. Now, of course, during the summer, you're at more risk to start a forest fire. Wintertime, I enjoy camping and doing this sort of thing a bit more, simply because you can have a fire, you can not have to worry as much about lighting stuff on fire that you shouldn't, just because of the moisture and the snow. So, yeah. So I'm gonna continue cooking breakfast here and enjoy that before I leave. But, if you enjoyed watching this video, you know what to do. Click like and subscribe down below. Feel free to comment. And until next time, thanks for watching.